Have you ever noticed how some things that once seemed so innocent suddenly turn out to be dangerous? You know, there was a time when we were told that smoking was good for digestion. Doctors even used to recommend cigarettes for stress relief. Sounds crazy now, doesn't it? But for years, people believed it, and now, today, there's something else we've all been told is harmless. Even good for us. Comforting. A little indulgence we've earned: chocolate. Yes, you heard me right. Chocolate. And in this video, I'll share 3 powerful reasons why chocolate might be hurting your heart far more than you've ever been told. And I promise you, reason number 3 will truly shock you, so please stick with me for just a little while. Because if you're over 60, and you care about protecting your heart, your energy, and your time with your family, what I'm about to tell you might change how you look at something that's been quietly sitting in your kitchen for decades. Let me ask you something. Have you ever reached for a piece of chocolate, after a long day, maybe with a cup of tea in the evening, telling yourself it's just a little treat? You tell yourself, dark chocolate is healthy, right? They say it's full of antioxidants. Good for the heart, even. I mean, doctors are saying this on the news. Magazines talk about it. You see health blogs praising chocolate like it's some kind of miracle food, but let me ask you, if chocolate was truly so heart healthy, then why are heart disease rates still so high? Why is it that, even with all the people swapping milk chocolate for dark and skipping dessert for a square of 80% cocoa, we're still seeing more and more seniors end up in the hospital with clogged arteries, irregular heartbeats, and high blood pressure? Something doesn't add up. I used to believe all those things. 2. I really did. I thought, oh, it's just a little bite. A way to unwind. It's got flavonoids. It's healthy. But when I started looking closer, really digging into the facts, I realized I'd been fooled, and maybe, just maybe, you've been fooled too. Now, before we dive into reason number 1, let me be clear. I'm not here to scare you. I'm not here to shame you. I'm here because I care, because I've seen what heart disease can do. I've watched someone I love go from walking 3 miles a day to struggling to get out of a chair. All because of choices that seemed harmless at the time, and I don't want that for you. So, let's begin. Let's talk about the first reason why chocolate may be quietly sabotaging your heart health, even if no one else is telling you the truth. Reason number 1. Chocolate and the dirty truth about saturated fat. Most people don't realize that chocolate, especially the kind that's creamy and melts in your mouth, is loaded with something called cocoa butter. Sounds harmless, right? Even luxurious, but cocoa butter is a type of saturated fat. Now, I know some folks these days try to defend saturated fats. They'll say, oh, coconut oil is natural, or butter is better than margarine. And yes, not all saturated fats are created equal. But when it comes to cocoa butter, especially in the amounts found in a bar of chocolate, it's not doing your heart any favors. You see, saturated fats increase something in your blood called LDL cholesterol. That's the bad cholesterol. The one that clogs your arteries like grease in a kitchen drain. And here's the kicker: most of the studies that claim chocolate is good for your heart, they're talking about tiny, purified extracts from cocoa beans. Not the actual chocolate bar you're eating. Let me say that again, because this is where the trickery comes in. These so-called chocolate is healthy studies aren't actually studying the chocolate you and I buy from the store. They're looking at flavonoid extracts taken from raw cacao, stripped of sugar, dairy, and fat. But guess what? That's not what's in your chocolate bar. What's in your chocolate bar is usually a mixture of sugar, milk solids, cocoa butter, and only a small percentage of actual cacao, and that cocoa butter is dense with saturated fat. Just 1 ounce of dark chocolate can have as much saturated fat as a slice of pepperoni pizza. Think about that. Would you ever tell yourself, I'm going to have a slice of pizza for my heart? Probably not. But when it comes to chocolate, we've been sold a different story. A prettier story. A comforting story. And here's where it gets more troubling, because many older adults are already battling high cholesterol. Some are taking statins. Some are watching their diet. But if no one tells them that their nightly healthy square of chocolate is pushing up their LDL cholesterol every single day, they may never know. They may think they're doing something good for themselves, while silently feeding the very thing that could one day put them in the hospital. And let me tell you something else I found that really made me stop in my tracks. Some of the studies that defend cocoa butter, they're funded either directly or indirectly by the chocolate industry. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not saying every doctor is lying or every company is evil. But I do believe that when money is involved, we have to ask questions. We have to be wise, and when it comes to something as serious as heart disease, we cannot afford to take anyone's word at face value, not even the smiling doctor on the commercial. That's why I started asking the tough questions. That's why I'm sharing this with you now, because I care. Because you deserve to know. Now, let's take a breath. If you've been eating chocolate thinking it was helping your heart, you are not alone. Many smart, thoughtful people have believed that. It's not your fault. This has been carefully packaged messaging, repeated over and over, but now, you know more, and when we know better, we can do better. So let's keep going. Next, I'll tell you about the second reason chocolate could be putting your heart at risk, especially if you're over 60. And this one has to do with something even more dangerous than saturated fat. Stick with me, my friend. We're just getting to the part most people never hear about. Yes, I said heavy metals, and no, I'm not talking about music. I'm talking about toxic substances like lead and cadmium, things that absolutely do not belong in your body, especially not if you're over 60 and trying to protect your heart, your brain, and your bones. You see, recent independent lab tests, conducted not by the chocolate companies themselves, but by unbiased consumer safety groups, have found alarming levels of heavy metals in many popular brands of chocolate. Even those labeled dark, organic, or heart healthy. I want to pause for a second here, and let that sink in. Many of the very chocolates people eat to feel better, to treat themselves after a long day, might be slowly poisoning their body with substances known to damage the heart, kidneys, and nervous system. You won't hear this on a candy commercial. But it's the truth. Let me share what researchers found. In 2022, an independent non-profit called Consumer Reports tested dozens of dark chocolate bars from brands most of us recognize, big names, trusted names. They found that nearly all of them contained measurable amounts of lead and cadmium. Some had levels high enough that just a small serving would exceed the daily limit considered safe for adults. Now, you might be wondering, what does this have to do with heart disease? Well, here's the part most people don't realize. Heavy metals, especially cadmium and lead, have been directly linked to high blood pressure, atherosclerosis, that's the hardening of the arteries, and heart failure. When these metals build up in your body over time, and remember, your body doesn't just flush them out easily, they interfere with the way your heart and blood vessels work. Cadmium, for example, damages the lining of your arteries. It makes them less flexible, more prone to blockage, and it raises inflammation throughout the body. Lead is even worse. Studies have shown that even low levels of lead in the blood, levels considered safe by some standards, can raise your risk of dying from heart disease significantly. Now imagine this happening slowly, over the years, as you nibble on your healthy chocolate square with your afternoon tea. You're not doing anything wrong. You're doing what the expert said was good for you, but what they didn't tell you, what they didn't want you to know, is that those innocent little bites could be dripping with invisible toxins. And here's something else that hurts to say out loud: the older we get, the more vulnerable we are to these poisons. Our kidneys don't clear out toxins as efficiently as they used to. Our bones, which can store heavy metals like cadmium for years, become more fragile. And our heart, our poor, beautiful heart, has already been through a lot. The last thing it needs is to be slowly poisoned by something we thought was keeping us healthy. Now, you may be wondering, why is this even allowed? Why are companies selling chocolate laced with heavy metals? Well, no one likes to say this. But the truth is, there's not much regulation. The FDA hasn't set specific limits on lead or cadmium in chocolate. Shocking, right? And the companies? Most of them say, oh, it's naturally occurring. It's from the soil. As if that makes it okay. But let me ask you something. If a glass of water from your faucet had a trace of lead in it, would you drink it every day? If a box of cereal said may contain cadmium from the dirt we grow in, would you still eat it? Of course not. But with chocolate, we're not told these things. The packaging says antioxidants, organic, 90% cacao, and we believe we're doing something kind for ourselves. We're told to indulge, to treat ourselves, to relax, and I get it. Chocolate feels like comfort. It feels like self-care. It feels like a hug in food form, but sometimes, comfort has a cost. Especially when it's hiding something as serious as heavy metals that can slowly break down our body from the inside out. Now, I want to be really clear here. I'm not telling you to live in fear. I'm not telling you to throw away every piece of chocolate you've ever bought. What I am saying is this: you deserve the truth. You deserve to know what's going into your body so you can make real choices. Not choices based on marketing. not choices based on half-truths. And if you've been eating chocolate for years without knowing about this, please don't blame yourself. These facts are buried deep, hidden under fancy wrappers and billion-dollar ad campaigns, but now you know, and now you can decide whether this little comfort is really worth the quiet damage it could be doing. And there's one more reason I need to share with you. The third and final one. And it's the one that hits the hardest, because it's not just about what chocolate contains. It's about what it does to you emotionally, physically, and yes, even hormonally. The third reason may be the most important of all. And it's the one hardly anyone talks about, especially not the people profiting from our habits. So if you've ever felt like chocolate had a hold on you, if you've ever felt like you needed it to get through the day, then what I'm about to share next will open your eyes in a whole new way. Stick with me, friend. We're almost there, and what comes next just might change everything.